there's something kind of mind-blowing about speaking to someone on the other side of the world who's like, I've seen this thing you're doing and I think it's really awesome and I want to fly across the world to come do it. So London Bookshop Crawl is a slightly mad thing, and it gets me a lot of weird looks when I try to explain to people who aren't as obsessed with bookshops as I am what it is. But basically, it's like a pub crawl in bookshops is the general idea behind it. But usually we do it over a weekend, and we have like groups. We go around different areas of London visiting bookshops, and we just basically get people who love books together to chat about books. And it's become like a really community thing where people come back and like meet people again that they met the last year. And I've had stories from people saying, I met my best friend on a bookshop crawl, we'd never met before, and now like we're in each other's lives on a daily basis, and it's so lovely.
That is so nice. I mean, this month's theme, which is why we picked BEX to be involved, is all about community, so we love to hear that. And how's it working virtually? How's it working for 2021?
It's going to be interesting. We're basically figuring it out as we go along. So our plan at the moment is we have got various contingencies. So we've got a plan for it to be 100% virtual if needs be, if somehow we end up in a lockdown again at that point in February. And then we're kind of gradually seeing as we go. At the moment, the plan is that we'll create our resources that we usually create. So we're currently in the period where we're just asking bookshops to register their interest to be involved. We're looking at it being a bit smaller this year than it was. Last year we had about 110 bookshops across central and greater London. But I reckon this year I'm shooting for 50 because I know that a lot of people won't have the extra brain capacity or whatever. But yeah, we're going to do some online panels, hopefully, terrifyingly. I've never done anything like that before, but it's going to be exciting.
Yeah.
So with some different bookshops on different subjects, and we're going to do like a bookish quiz via Zoom probably or something. So basically, yeah, we're going to increase our online content a lot, and also hoping some of the bookshops or a lot of the bookshops will be like offering. So we usually have bookshops offer discounts, etc. So hopefully they'll be able to do that online. Then if people can't get into the city for whatever reason, they'll be able to still take part.
Can you believe you just said you had over 150 bookshops involved? You said that really casually. Like, how many years of growth and you've gotten that already? That's crazy good. You should be so proud of yourself. How have you found the sense of community generally? You've mentioned that people have been really nice and really supportive. Have you kind of appreciated what you've built in terms of the persona and in terms of the people who engage with it?
Yeah, definitely. I know everyone who runs anything that has a community is like, we have the best community, but we do. Last year we had people fly in for the bookshop crawl. Sorry, this year, the beginning of 2020. It feels about 2 years ago.
I know.
But we had people fly in from LA. We had people come from Italy. Like, people were flying in, which like gave me palpitations. Wow. It was terrifying. But it's amazing. It's amazing that people would do that.
Unbelievable. That's brilliant.
Yeah, there's something kind of mind-blowing about speaking to someone on the other side of the world who's like, I've seen this thing you're doing and I think it's really awesome and I want to fly across the world to come do it. And I'm like, okay.
Pressure.
Cool. But no, it's really lovely, and it's not something that I thought, like, I made the bookshop crawl because I wanted to meet more people who like to geek out about books, and it's just so nice. And it's so nice to be able to go book shopping with people who won't be like, are you sure you need more books?
Yeah.
You don't really have any more bookshelf space. Maybe you should only buy one in this shop, not 5.
I was actually leading on. You've got thousands of crawlers and shops involved, so it really has developed rapidly. We've already expanded on that. Is the community behind the event something that thrives your motivation?
Oh, 100%. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, to start with the bookshops, if they weren't interested, I would not bother. We have like a dedicated core who are always really excited, and they're genuinely some of my favorite bookshops in the city as well, which helps. But they'll always be the first to sign up, and they'll be telling everyone about us online and telling everyone how excited they are. that we're coming and that is happening, and I love that. I find that so, like, I wouldn't be still doing it, I don't think, if it wasn't for that. And it's really nice to feel like I've made something people care about, that's like a big high point of their year. And particularly this year, many people have said to me, this was like the last great fun weekend I had, and thank you so much for doing it, because like the books I bought have really sustained me through lockdown, and like I like to look back at the photos and remember all the fun we had that weekend before everything went bad. So which is just really, that's really nice to hear. It's really nice to know that I'm doing something that matters, really.
Bex is not only here to talk to us about books, which we all love, but she's also here to be an advocate for mental health awareness. So Bex, please share your struggle with social anxiety in this professional context. I am sure there are people out there with anxiety and social surroundings who all think, no chance in hell on a bad day could I run an event and deal with people.
It kind of triggered my anxiety, if I'm honest, if I go back to 2016 when it started, because as I say, I was diagnosed as a teenager and I had a course of cognitive behavioral therapy, and after that I was like, oh, I'm cured now. She's taught me all these coping mechanisms, I'm fine. And for a lot of years I just, because I call myself an extroverted introvert, like I'm quite an introvert, but as you can hear, I talk a lot. So my way of dealing with my anxiety is just to talk a lot and then go home and worry about all the things I said. After the first year of the bookshop crawl, I kind of decided, because I'd found it so like, although it was a really good experience, I thought I need to go into the next year and actually just say to people, hey, if I seem like really hyper and crazy, it is just because my brain does this thing where I have to fill up the silence because it's horrible and awkward and I can't handle it. And so you need to know this about me, because then I felt like I could go into that situation because everyone had all the information. But I think it's so important, and especially organising the kind of events I organise, I've found that there's quite a big crossover between people who really love books and people who are introverted, but also people who suffer with anxiety and depression, and people who maybe could benefit from being in a social environment that's not too stressful, that's not going to put them on the spot and be like, now you talk, but where they're able to go and gently meet people who have kind of similar interests, and without it being like a big deal. And so that's what we tried to do with the bookshop crawl. And I do think it's been, although I said it kind of triggered me to realise that I was actually still living with anxiety and it hadn't gone away. It's actually been really therapeutic for me to kind of work through it myself, through the lens of like, how can I make this a safe space for other people who might be feeling similar things to how I feel? And like in the early days, and even because the summer bookshop crawls tend to be smaller, I would say, here's my number. If you're worried, give me a text, give me a call. I'll come out and meet you. And like, if you don't want to walk in by yourself, just let me know. If you can't come at the last minute because you can't make yourself do it, that's fine. Send me a text, like no judgment. I'm not going to say, I think you're awful or whatever. It's fine. And I know that has been helpful to people.
Yeah. Well, you're a support network. That's I mean, what you've just said about giving people your number, that's honestly truly amazing. And I'm sure so many people have, when they signed up for the crawl, didn't realize that they were also going to get an incredible support network if they had anxiety. That's amazing. I'd like to end with your advice to anyone who has social anxiety and is kind of realizing they have social anxiety. They're at an early point or maybe a pivotal point. What would your advice be?
It's okay to have limits, that your brain is not broken because it doesn't work the same way that other people's does. And also, all the things that you're stressing about, nobody else has noticed. And this is really hard to believe and accept, and it's taken me a really long time. But it really is true. And I know, because I have very long suffering friends who put up with me texting them being like, did you notice this thing I said? And almost always they don't. So I think people need to be kind to themselves. I think we all need to be kind to ourselves, but particularly if you're just realizing, or you're having a particular moment with anxiety, just be kind to yourself. It's okay, and you will move through the moment, and you're not broken.